Welcome to the third episode of Locomotive Spotlight, a series in which we shine a metaphorical spotlight on a specific New Zealand locomotive. From steam to diesel to electric, we attempt to cover the lot here. Today's subject is DBR 1254, one of two DBR class diesel locomotives that's preserved at the Glenbrook Vintage Railway. The other one is 1295. 1254 was built by General Motors of Canada in 1965, originally as DB 1005. The DBs, or EMD G8s, were a lighter version of the DA, or EMD G12, intended for use on secondary lines with more severe weight restrictions. One such line was the old East Coast Main Trunk, which ran via Paeroa and Waihi in order to reach Tauranga. That route was closed and replaced by the Kaimai Tunnel deviation in 1978. As for the DB locomotives, 10 of them were rebuilt by Clyde Engineering of Australia in the early 1980s. Sadly, the 7 unrebuilt DBs were all scrapped by the end of the decade, while the DBRs kept going into the 21st century. In 2003, DBRs 1199 and 1254 were overhauled and repainted in the Max Blue livery. This was so they could be used in top and tail Auckland commuter service, and they usually ran with a set of ex-Queensland Rail SX coaches. 1226 was also equipped to run with the SX set, but never carried the actual Max logo. All 3 Max painted DBRs returned to freight service in 2014, after being replaced by the AM class electric multiple units. KiwiRail kept running DBRs until 2017, when the last of them was withdrawn from service. Despite 1239 and 1241 being scrapped in 2008, the remaining 8 DBRs are still around today. As stated previously, 1254 and 1295 are preserved at the Glenbrook Vintage Railway, while the others are in storage at Steam Incorporated's Paikakariki depot. (1254) and 1295 were both brought to the GVR in 2017. The 2 engines have since been repainted back into the classic International Orange or Fruit Salad livery. 1254 herself was fully restored for mainline running, returning to service in September 2019. Her first mainline excursion was on January 25, 2020. On that day she ran in tandem with DFB 7160 on a run from Hamilton to Waharoa and back. Incidentally, I was a passenger on that excursion, and at one point I heard another passenger asking one of the Railway Enthusiast Society volunteers if they could shoot over to Tauranga for a beer. Here's 1254 and 7160 arriving at Hamilton Station on January 25th, 2020. So far, this is the only time I've been on an excursion with DBR 1254 on it. very next day, the same two locomotives ran another excursion. This time they went down the North Island Main Trunk to Ohakune, and on the return trip I chased the train as far north as Otorohanga. These scenes are from National Park Station. Later in the day, we see the excursion passing the tiny settlement of Waimiha on its way back to Hamilton. A few weeks later, 1254 was out running another excursion. This time she ran the Thermal Explorer down to Kinleith, and here we see her arriving at the end of the aforementioned branch line. Kinleith is normally served by 4 trains a day to and from Mount Maunganui. Later in the afternoon, she ran an additional excursion from Tokoroa to Hinuera and back, and if memory serves, this excursion was actually sold out. This scene shows DBR 1254 passing through the only level crossing in Putaruru. It wasn't until October 2020 when I got to see 1254 again. Here we see her arriving at and departing from Hamilton Station again on her way back from Ohakune. Incidentally, this wasn't even 15 minutes after DFB 7295 left with a set of Te Huia coaches going back to Te Rapa. Later on, in April 2021, we see the DBR arriving back on a home railway after another long multi-day tour around the lower North Island. The Glenbrook Vintage Railway runs heritage trains on the line between Glenbrook and Waiuku, with KiwiRail's Mission Bush branch running right past Glenbrook Station. At the time of me making this video, the most recent time I've seen DBR 1254 was at Pukekohe Station on August 13th, 2021. Despite the very long-lasting travel restrictions, which are slowly being lifted, the GVR and RES look set to run more multi-day excursions with their DBR throughout 2022. Thank you for watching the third episode of Locomotive Spotlight. If you like this series, then feel free to check out my LS playlist for the other episodes, and stay tuned for more episodes in the future. Next time we'll be focusing on DC 4260.